I completely get the point, but my thought on that is that because of the open borders, if we go back to the Pareto principle, which explains the cause of inequality in societies with competitive creativity, with the Pareto principle, one of the rules is that half the productivity is caused by the square root of the number of employees, and it becomes more of a problem the bigger the company. So, for instance, if you have 9 employees, half your productivity comes from 3 people. And then you think, well, okay, I mean, it's easy to know who those 3 people are, and we can look after them. If you've got 100 employees, half your productivity comes from 10, just 10. Very easy to lose those 10 because the good people know who they are. What about 1,000? Then the proportions of the people responsible to half of the creativity becomes exponentially less. Now, what's been happening is, if you've noticed, central London, in fact, London all over, is stuffed full of Italian and Greek accents because we now have economic migrants because of the open borders. So all the good people, all the people who are likely, in terms of their personality and ability to rise up and do something, have gone. So you're left with the far more passive people who've got their learned helplessness.
I don't think it's going to come down to one country. Actually, I think there's if this last week is anything to go by what's happening in Germany and France and all these other countries. I mean, even who was the leader of that right-wing party in Holland who came out and spoke, in favour of Tommy Robinson. You've got all these people who from other countries, and it doesn't, once each country has sorted out its own little group, it doesn't take much to actually amalgamate with other countries with the same common cause, and what they're doing is they're actually making immigration the issue rather than radical Islam the issue. So all of a sudden everyone's going to be involved in that, and people will come together. And I think I'm not saying there's going to be a European war just yet, but if things go any further, people are going to get desperate. They're going to get angry. They're going to feel downtrodden.
Well, common causes are immensely powerful.
Yeah, and it takes one. Look, it takes one good orator.
But that's one of the powers of religion: a common cause, a common identity. And of course, the riots in London. How long ago? 8 years ago now. Mainly they started because of social media, and everyone was saying, "Let's look after each other. Let's go and have fun. Let's go and steal." And everything. So that became a common cause.
So I don't think governments have as much power as they think they have. They have so much, but there's a point when you start crossing the line, like what the government have done this time. They've turned the Tommy Robinsons into a martyr, and people are putting their overwhelming support. Now, guess what? There's a common cause. And that common cause, all it has to do is be stacked onto another common cause of something that happens in a few weeks' time. And as it keeps stacking, people are going to actually come stronger, and that's going to be quite dangerous.
Governments have immense power.
And that's going to become dangerous.
People have much less power. So people at random, and we've talked about this before, but leaders have power. So therefore people leading these right-wing people have the power. Governments have power. They just need to understand how to exercise it properly.
That's true. I mean, look, the biggest problem here is as the Conservative Party seems to have pushed more towards the left of centre. You're going to get, it's only going to take one very charismatic, even psychopathic, as you call them, charismatic psychopaths. One good person who is very strong at delivering a message, is quite impactful, and put a party, a right-wing party together that comes across as mainstream and is very carefully branded. They've got the potential then to actually challenge. To be part of the mainstream political system. So, in that sense, they need to be very careful, because if you actually look at what's happened across Europe, the Tories and the Labour aren't going to be safe anymore if they carry on playing this game, because people are getting they're getting angry.
Want leadership, and indeed, you see that time and again.
But they want right leadership.
They want any kind of leadership.
We talked about dictatorship. When you become a bad dictator, what happens? You get ousted, not even to a point killed.
Ah, yes, but what is a bad dictator? One who's not leading. One who becomes self-serving.
We've argued this, but you haven't demonstrated. Yeah, you haven't. No matter how many times we brought this question up, you've never brought up who has been a good dictator.
Yes, I have.
Who?
Marshal Tito, best in the world.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay. All right. Do you want to clarify who he was first for us?
Well, we talked about it before, so I don't want to go into too much detail. But he was the leader of Yugoslavia when it was one country, and what he did is he resisted communist Russia because he brought in his own brand of communism, which was a very interesting hybrid with capitalism. And during his time there, he ended up with very high unemployment, with high wages or relatively high wages, with very good health care.
So he had high employment, with
relatively
good wages.
with relatively good wages.
Okay, I don't know enough about him.
And good health care. And what he did is he had this very interesting hybrid with private companies. But the mistake he made is he never trained anyone else to take over. So as soon as he left, he became the brand.
I'm sorry, what was Yugoslavia now?
Well, indeed, that's the trouble, because of course when he died, then all the vultures came in and they moved in, and essentially, unfortunately, at the time he died, America was busy writing internal memos saying that they needed to be leaders of the world and they were the only people capable of doing it. And then they stepped into the vacuum.
Look, I don't know enough about. I didn't know enough about him. I don't know enough about his history to be able to comment. But all I can say is, okay, you've mentioned one person. Out of all the dictators that have been out there,
a lot of dictators start off very well. So, for instance, Mugabe started off very, very well.
Yeah. So my wife's calling me while I'm on a podcast, so I'll have to call her back.
That's okay.
Okay.
And so he started off very, very well. Because he started off as being a charismatic leader, being idealistic. Everyone gathered behind him. But of course, what happened is he then got older. His younger wife started wanting a bit of the limelight. So everyone started seeing them as being self-serving. And as soon as that happened.
Yeah, but what did Mugabe do? Actually, it's interesting. I was watching I was watching a YouTube clip, and there's this Australian guy, this Jewish guy from Australia, who's getting some attention. YouTube attention. Let's call it. But one thing he actually did say, he went on this march about people admitting refugees, and he did actually go and ask a few of these people, sort of saying, well, what about the white refugees from South Africa who've been having their farms taken away and they're being raped and murdered? And no one actually supported that at all.
But if you ask people who are the most effective leaders, then they're all either dictators or dictatorial people.
Well, no. It's a power.
Who are the strongest leaders?
It's a power to actually make decisions without actually having to go through a committee to make decisions. All right, but
there's your answer.
But the thing is,
you've answered the question.
No. Hold on a second. If you actually,
this doesn't mean they're going to make the right decisions. No. But they are the most powerful.
You need to stop there, Theo, because the thing is, and I've said this in the past, if a country's run like someone's a CEO. Okay,
dictator.
Donald Trump. They're not a dictator, because the thing is, they still actually have to answer to the shareholders.
They have a limited accountability. That's correct, but they can behave like a dictator. But if they make the wrong decisions, of course, they will be ousted.
Yeah, but the thing is, they still have to answer. They still have to answer,
which is
to
why
shareholders.
the ideal thing is
he doesn't have totalitarian power.
So you need to have either someone who's groomed to be a leader, such as Alexander the Great, or even the royal family. They're groomed to be leaders, which is why they do their jobs well.
But let's look at Alexander the Great. But Alexander the Great did kill a few people along the way, I mean, what was acceptable then would not be acceptable now.
Well, we don't know the exact details, but he spread civilization and justice throughout the world, and you needed to do certain things in order to achieve that.
Okay. So actually, I think what we're going to actually go is we're going to actually start wrapping it out there, and what we'd like to do is next week what we're going to attempt to talk about is we're going to go a little bit more medical, because this is Theo's field, and we're going to probably start talking about addictions and how they're actually affecting us in the UK. So please join us next week for that episode, and particularly if you actually do have any mental health problems and things like this. Again, I'd just like to clarify, it's only advice that we're actually offering, or particularly
we are not a
offering.
Licensed entity.
No, but but the thing is, it's also an opinion. So
if you have questions, go and see your GP.
Yes, absolutely. So please join us for that. So we look forward to speaking to you next week. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening. Have a good weekend.